Have you ever taken the time and really noticed what's in a crayon box? That's right, a crayon box. Different colors, all there together in a box, looking good together, but different. Now, I've got an author I'd like you to meet who looks at that crayon box and sees something you might not realize you are seeing. She believes within that box you're observing conflict and resolution. Stick around because we're going to carve into that box of crayons her book and her writing journey.
Welcome to A Book Finds You podcast. This week's guest is Debra Wright Mosby. Join us as she shares the inspiration behind her book, along with her writing process, routines, and challenges. And now, here's your host, best-selling author, Rob Jollis.
Today's guest, Debra Wright Mosby, is a formal conflict and diversity solutions consultant and an empowerment children's book author. Debra's been teaching others about formal conflict solution systems for more than 20 years, and she's the author of the book, The Diverse Universe, a short children's picture book about diversity. Happy to have you with us, and welcome to the show, Debra.
Thank you so much, Rob. It's a pleasure to be here.
Outstanding. That's the way we like to start. So let's dive in and talk about that book of yours. And yours is a classic, but I want to hear it from you. The show's called How a Book Finds You. I know you didn't find it. It found you. So how did this book find you?
Well, this book found me by simply thinking, watching the news and so forth, wouldn't it be neat to teach children about the power of conflict and how to put a positive spin on conflict? And of course, when I say children, I mean young children, ages 4 to 11. The book found me. I actually sat down and I said, I'm going to make this simple. I'm going to make it easy to understand. I'm going to help children to conceptualize the beauty in conflict and to find how we arrive at resolution. And occasionally you will find that resolution is not a complete agreement that you both decide that you want to accomplish X, Y, and Z, but it can also be that I agree that I am going to disagree with you. And when we look at the numbers of youth violence cases and so forth in the streets, I think it's really important to teach our children how to agree to disagree,
Right.
And how to communicate to affect positive change.
Yeah. Is this your first book, Debra?
It is my first book.
And when did it come out?
Well, the book itself came out in July 2024, but July 2023. And I have an activity book, which brings the book to life. And that came out just recently in November of 2024.
Yeah, see, that's what I love. I love that. I'm a business book author, and I really believe that, even as a speaker, we have two jobs. Obviously, one is to inform, but the other is to help people implement. And I think we fall down on that a little bit. So when I hear there's a companion, a book to it, that's basically saying, okay, I hope you were inspired. I hope you were motivated. I hope you learned a few things. But now, like learning a golf lesson, let's go on that course, swing the club, and play a few holes. We're going to learn a whole lot more once we get out of the theory and actually, implement. So good on you for having that. I'm sure that's been rewarding, watching people be able to kind of walk away and hold on to these ideas.
It has been very rewarding, Rob. Teaching children, watching their faces light up, understanding there's nothing to fear in conflict. It's all about communicating. And of course, we communicate in different ways. It can be the use of body language. I know young children are pretty young to know about emotional intelligence, but there are ways and tips and tricks. And so my activity book sort of delves into that, and it explores ways in which you can actually constructively communicate with others. It gives you buzzwords along with exercises to practice. There's a portion for teachers as well as parents. This is an interactive workbook.
You tackled a tough idea here. In meaning, this isn't a layup. Diversity is a lot of people are confused by it. How do you know when an idea is worth pursuing? In other words, there you came up on this idea, but a lot of times when people write a book, they sort of talk themselves back out of it. How did you know this was worth going after?
Well, Rob, children are faced more than ever with emotional things that call for a response, and they're watching adults, and they're not always making the best choices. We also live in a society now where more parents are working longer hours, etc. So you have children trying to teach children. Oftentimes, the television is teaching them. So my decision to come up with this book, and this is going to be the first in a series of books about conflict and diversity, is to first emphasize the word diversity, which means differences. And I wanted to let children know it's okay when we talk about differences. It doesn't always have to be all culturally rooted, although this is part of it. When you think about the classroom setting, and you hear teachers often talk about inclusive education, you have disabilities represented in the classroom, both learning and physical, maybe mental disabilities. They're there. They're in this classroom with the other children. You have non-traditional versus traditional home structures. Some people have a mom and a mom, a dad and a dad, and others have the traditional home setting. Teaching teachers as well as students, you don't have to agree. You can disagree, but it can be a constructive relationship. When you're out on the playground, maybe John has the slide and you want to slide. So what do? How do you become a critical thinker? Sharpening those critical thinking skills. Thinking, is it okay if I wait? How do you get children to that point? So I started thinking about those things, and then I worked a little bit as a long-term substitute teacher years ago. I am the daughter, the granddaughter, the niece, etc. of many educators. And one thing they all have in common is the children, how to motivate them, how to retain attention in the classroom, and also how to deal with differences in personality. So all those things spurred me to write my books.
Got it. Good. You brought up a really interesting point. I'm a person who hates the word soft skills. I feel it diminishes the importance of what we're talking about. I think I'd like to call them performance skills, quite frankly. And when you talk about something like learning how to disagree, you're really talking about a performance skill there. And rarely is it taught. We teach hard skills, but I've volunteered for 16 years now for people in career transition who struggle a little bit. And they're never there because their hard skills failed them. They're there because the soft skills failed them. And no one really takes those seriously. Sounds like within your book, you're drilling right into that. And I wish more school systems and people would understand it's really valuable to be teaching people all sorts of skill. One of my favorites, and I'll move off this, but one of my favorite is, how do you agree with someone when you know you're right? Okay. But pick that spot of how important is it for me to be right now? I was brought up to think, well, you're showing weakness, when in fact I learned you're showing strength. But things like that, if we don't learn them from educators like you, we're going to learn them the hard way. We're going to learn them. And I just wish more people would be writing about this. It's invaluable. Invaluable. All right. Thank you for letting me pontificate. Let's jump into your writing routine a little bit. Do you have one when you wrote that book? Are you a daily writer, a weekly writer? What's your particular routine?
So, Rob, I'm an observer, and I'm an observer by trade and by nature. So I'm just naturally curious. and I love people. So that includes children. I am also a mother. Our son is now graduated from college, married, and on his own. But I still care about what happens to all children. So I actually sit back and I watch children play and interact with each other. I ride the train, the commuter train to work, and some children ride the train on their way to school. So I just watch the children's interaction, and it so motivates me to really be involved, to be part of the solution and not part of the problem. So, for the most part, I want to know what makes a child react, and watching them in their most natural setting with each other is the way to do that. In my opinion, anything really. If you want to know why, don't ask the question, just observe.
Right. A lot of people struggle observing. They want to immerse themselves in it themselves. You really do have to take when I do role plays, for instance, I do them in what we call triads threes. I have one person play if it's a sales thing. Might be one person plays the seller, one person plays the buyer. But the one who gets the most out of it is the observer because they're hearing a conversation from two different perspectives. And you'll find that they'll have a stronger reaction to the experience than the person who's playing the customer, for instance. They're busy looking at their script, et cetera. They're playing a role. Sellers trying to learn things they haven't really used before, but they're trying. The observer is just kind of picking it all up, and it's incredible just how valuable that is. But let's keep going on that process. Do you now you've done your observation? When do you write? What system do you use to actually start putting this to paper or computer screen?
So, Rob, no matter where I go, I'm very old fashioned. I'm the end of the boomers. So, basically, I came along before all of this fancy technology came along. So, for the most part, I always travel with a notebook and a pen, no matter what. And I sit down and write notes.
Right.
And I am intentional with my note taking. I will write the date, the time, the setting, etc., and what I observed. And I'll bring it back. And this actually works also for the workplace because at work, I write a lot of papers. So when I'm writing those papers, I like to pull from real life experiences. Of course, we changed the name of characters and so forth. But I think it's best in that sense because to me, I feel that makes me more relatable. This is something that I have observed. That's the same I like about taking theories, making practical sense, making practical use of theories and so forth. So that's where I draw my note taking in natural settings and coming back and putting it on paper. And I do a rewrite, and a rewrite to be sure I've captured everything.
Are these still physically on paper, the write and the rewrite that you're doing, or when does it actually get onto a keyboard?
It gets onto a keyboard when I think it's right. I am a very, very meticulous writer, I think. I like to feel that I've addressed all angles. I anticipate what the questions will be. And I try to put myself there. What would I like to know? As a parent, what would I like to talk to my child about? So when I'm writing children's books, I am writing based on what I think what I think I would need to talk to my child about. Being as objective as possible, and also taking into consideration that the diversity piece plays a role. We're socialized differently, etc. But I don't think that it's going to be too different because I believe in discipline, positive discipline, constructive discipline. I think a child has to have guidance. I believe that discussions have to be had in the home about societal norms, what is right and what's wrong, consequences, etc.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna try this from another angle. How long did it take you to write this book?
Oh, you would be amazed.
I think I'm going to be amazed. Now, believe me, I'm holding my breath on this answer. Go ahead.
So this actually, I started thinking years ago, what
Mhm.
would it be like to write a book about diversity or conflict for children and helping them to understand what diversity means, defining differences, and the conflict that is found within differences. How can you achieve constructive, and I always use the word constructive because that's my goal, constructive resolution. And how do we agree to disagree? Because so for the most part, it took me about 20 years to actually publish the book.
Hang on, our audience is now on the floor unconscious. Everybody, wake up. Get back over here. Now, 20 years. Okay. Uh, I that is quite an arc there that you're in. Now, my guess is, you can tell me I'm wrong. You are a think about it person. You were plotting and planning and thinking and working. And then one day you went, you know what? I got to take this from the dream and get this on paper, start putting it on paper. So I'm going to guess that that really was more like a couple of years to go from all this observation to writing. Tell me I'm close.
Yes, you are close.
Okay. I just don't want people to say that's the end of my writing dream. No, of course not. We all,
No.
no, that's not, and I'm teasing you. What you've taught us really is that, and people don't understand this, you don't just sit down and put your hand on the keyboard or put your hand on a pad of paper and a pen. So, that there is some planning that goes on and thinking. And the reason why this show is called A Book Finds You is because clearly this is a passion of yours. And believe me, there are a lot of people that want to write a book. The only problem is they're missing what you have, which is this desire, this drive that says, I got to do it. So that's the beauty of what we're talking about. But usually once we turn for home and we have a sense of an outline and I can see it now, then, well, if you're writing with a piece of pad and paper and pencil, it might take a couple of years, but it could take a little less than that, particularly in the editing side. Look, that's the beauty. Everybody has their own process. Real fast, I I met a man some years ago, very special man. I'll even tell you his name. His name is Ron James. Wonderful man, 25-year repeat offender. And he started reaching out to me and he wanted to write a book. And he wrote that book and he wrote it with a pad of paper and a pen. Okay. Just like you. The funny part was we were going back and forth. I never got a look at the manuscript. And then he said, okay, I'm done. And I said, okay, how many pages? He said, oh, about 2,200. I went, okay, well, we're going to have to do a little editing there. But, and that's the part where you and I are going to have a cup of coffee someday, and I'm going to bring a little something for you to write on, and we're going to train you on that. But you know what? It works for you. And that's the beauty. Everybody has their own way. The most important thing is, what are we putting down? And you put something special down. Do you deal with writer's block at all when you're going through that years of writing?
Well, you know what? This is my way of battling writer's block. I actually I go back and turn the pages and I say, oh, okay, so last year I said, or yesterday I said, da 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 da. Oh, yeah. And then I walk away. I take a nice long walk. I prefer windy, cool days where it's not so hot.
Yeah.
And I sit and I think with my pad and pencil, and I just do a little retrospective kind of thing and look back and say, I can put these together and make it make sense.
Right.
And in my defense, although I am a dinosaur, but I
never said that. I insinuated it, but I've never said it.
It's okay. I also used the computer as well. And I make notes in the computer, but my preference is I do it the hard way. I'm the old fashioned type. So I will put it in a computer, but I also have my hard copy notes as well. Even at work, I'm the only person who comes into a meeting room with my pad and pencil. Everyone else comes with their laptop.
Well, good, good. You're holding that torch strong.
That's right.
And if it makes you feel any better, listen, I've had people on this show already who dictate. I have one person who actually dictates email messages while walking and then has that transferred over and then edits what she dictated. And even I went, oh, that's too much for me. I can't. So there's a level of tolerance for all of us. I'm just messing with you. How about, did you ever, because it's a longer process for you, do you ever struggle with staying motivated for all that period of time?
No, I was once I decide to do something, I am totally wed to it, no matter how long it takes. Remember, I came along prior to well, you don't know this, but I came along prior to the PC. 2 years before I graduated from college, the PC was not in existence. So you have to have a lot of patience, a lot of tolerance to sit and write multiple page research papers using a typewriter.
Right, right. I would listen. I'm a guy who was using a typewriter in college as well, and I always think, how did I do that? Because remember, we're trying to rip through these papers, and if we make one mistake,
It's fatal.
oh, I had a typewriter, and I'll get off this, but I had a typewriter that was really newfangled. It wasn't even mine. It was somebody in the dorm. And what made it amazing was you pushed a button and the entire cartridge popped out, and you popped in a whole new cartridge that was basically white, that would white out whatever it was.
Exactly.
Pop that out, put the other cartridge in, and remember, that's if we catch it when we're making the typo. And to me, I was thinking, look at technology go. I'm on the cutting edge right now. Those are the days. Those were the days.
Yeah.
How about the marketing part of this? How engaged or involved are you in the marketing of your book?
Well, since I have a very demanding work schedule, initially I wasn't as engaged as I wanted to be.
Right.
But this year, I decided the time has come. So I'm very actively engaged. It's a matter of fact, I have a book show tomorrow, and I've done 3 book shows. And I have a wonderful person who's working with me as kind of my book advisor. And she is a former principal, education consultant. She's very involved. She herself has written over 40 titles. And yes, and she's done very well. She's a 2022 Maryland Mother of the Year. She's just really busy. She's a dynamo. So she's working with me and we're getting it out there.
Good, good. Keep fighting. The nice thing is, when my first book came out, it was 1993. You really had a very small window to hit. That is not the case anymore for authors. A book can get hot at any time. So it's a marathon, not a sprint. And just, keep fighting. And I always fight for the voice of that book. I have children myself. We do the best we can in raising them. We try and do it right. And then we launch them into the world. And that's not that dissimilar from books. We work as hard as we can and we launch them into this world. But the good news is we get to parent them a little bit while they're out there and they don't get offended. Look, all right. Last question for you. What advice would you give aspiring writers, other than, take your time?
Yeah.
We got that part. But what other advice would you give for somebody who's listening going, I really want to do this? Give me a thought or two.
Okay, so first I'll tell you that writing is not for the weak. You really have to want to do it. You have to have a passion for it. Be sure that you've done some critical thinking and really thought things through. Am I going to be committed to writing about this subject? And then don't be afraid to write and ask others to read what you've written. Run it by them. You need someone who's going to be open and honest. And don't have the attitude that, well, I'm going to write this book anyway. You want to write it anyway, yes, but you want to write it like anything else you attack in life with a purpose. And believing, it starts with believing in yourself and believing in the message, whatever it is that you want to share. If it's children's books, if it's love stories, whatever you're writing, cookbooks, etc., just have a passion for it and be prepared to wake up one day at a time and find your inspiration and keep going.
There you go. A lot of times I put things on top of things. I'm leaving that one right where it is. That was beautifully said. How do people get a hold of you?
Well, you can reach me at www.thediverseuniverse.com or email resoluteconversation@gmail.com.
Good. And we'll have this up on the website as well. It has been delightful talking to you and getting to know you. Thank you for letting me poke you a little bit. But it's funny that the beauty of writing books, Deborah, is that everybody has their own way. It's very unique. And we have to be true to not only the voice in our head when we're writing, but the process we follow. And so yours is unique in certain ways and not unique in others. But you drill home one point, which I loved, which is we just can't quit. We can't give up. If it's in there, my dad used to say, see that guy over there? He's just like you. He puts his pants on one leg at a time, and really the only difference between an author like you and one who's dreamt about it is somebody who just stuck with it and didn't quit. Congratulations to you. I wish nothing but success for your book. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you so much, Rob, for having me. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Yay. Well, we'll do it again as well as we can next time, everybody. Until then, stay safe.
Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed today's guest author, we'd love you to rate, review, and share this episode with others. If you'd like more information on today's guest or the Maryland Writers Association, please visit our website at marylandwriters.org. You can also find out about the history of the Maryland Writers Association by listening to our first podcast, Episode 0.